So
I
you guys,
can, I'll contact Keith.
Roy, will put, I mean, you're gonna defer this to you?
Well, I'll contact Keith and then I'll let you know.
Okay. Good luck.
The other
Appreciate you doing it.
question is, the boys 4A. Now you have Fridley that's gonna host, correct?
Yeah. And St. Thomas will be a backup.
Those
We
might
have a
be
problem.
the only two teams there.
Right.
Why is that? What's the?
Columbia Heights, I don't think has gone to a true team meet. Henry Sibley, they would probably go. South St. Paul, I would guess, wouldn't. Como Park wouldn't. Johnson wouldn't.
They just don't go. They have teams, but don't.
They have team. They won't go. They just won't go.
How can we get more teams involved in the true team meeting? I mean, there's times like with my program that I know I can't compete as far as winning it, but I still go for the invite and experience for the kids. How do we get other teams to see that, regardless of their talent pool?
The best advice I can give you is to mentor those big coaches. Encourage them to give it an opportunity to try. Some people, they don't like where it falls. They like to take a break. Some guys are hunters in the fall. With the girls program, they'd rather be in a deer stand. Some days they have off. Some people don't agree with the philosophy behind the fact that they should be there. Others feel that I don't have a big enough team. You know, I agree. It'd be nice to have more schools participating, and it really gives you a preview of your section meet, particularly this year and I was very concerned going into this year because there was such a major change in the sections. And we knew we were going to have problems finding pools. I was really pleased to come into the meeting with so few holes in the lineup in this particular. People really did step up and problem solve in their sections. The best thing you can do is actually talk to those coaches, and don't be a lone voice. Talk to the other coaches that are coming to True Team and say, we should try to encourage this coach, because this is a coach decision. And I know there was a program that competed with us for many years and left, and I know that they came back to True Team because the parents and the swimmers wanted to come back to True Team in AA. It was really cool.
It's like, you don't have to go to the state meet if you make it. It's just the meet of getting 6 or 7, 11 guys in for your divers and your section meeting. You just gotta get it.
Yes, it is.
I agree.
Are we watching movies now?
Google popped up something.
I'm sorry I'm boring you, Chris. I
Like it's changing more than I'd like it to.
Obviously, you're not interested in going.
All right.
It's Google.
Can I entertain a motion to accept the whole schools?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. All right, let's move on. Just a note on True Team finances. Now, please understand that these numbers reflect everybody paying their bills. This is what the True Team has done since we've really gotten organized with our sponsors, and come to total, we've put $47,000 into the association. The money is used to subsidize a portion of the price of the awards to the section meet host teams, assist in the funding of the Coaches Association annual scholarships, and to increase the Coaches Association general fund, which has been used for various expenses over the course of postage, awards, at the banquet, sometimes dinners, lunches, at meetings and things like that, and door prices at our banquet. And to offset cost of the all-state banquet, which we hold, which doesn't always make money or break even, right, in past years. So we've been able to be solvent, and I've always felt, when I served as executive secretary, that we wanted to have at least a year's worth of funds available at any time while we were, that figured that was financially prudent to be able to cover in case we hit a bad year. I know when the economy fell in 2006, income fell way off, memberships fell way off, and the same thing happened at 9/11. There were what they call corrections in the economy. So we've been very solvent. True Team has been very good. Plus, when you look at the finances, by the time we're all done running the awards and everything, True Team in itself is very expensive because of the large awards cost, which you'll see when we get to the next item. Right.
Rick?
Yes.
It's always 6,000 to 9,000. Does the association basically spend that every year, or is that
No,
building
we've
up?
actually been able to grow. When we started the True Team, our bank account was probably $4,000 or $5,000, and now we're hovering in the 20s.
Okay. And that's pretty consistent?
That's pretty consistent. We've been able to, we've had growth within our association pretty much every year since True Team started. And some years little growth, and other years lots of growth. I know Justin, you served on a committee that looked at our finances a couple of years back, and it's been steady growth, right? Okay. A motion to accept the finances?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, section state meet issues. We would like all host schools to personally contact all teams in their section and encourage them to attend and participate in section True Team meets. Chris already spoke a little bit about the schedule in regard to the Minnesota Gopher football games. They will not allow us on campus under any circumstances when there's a football game. They entertained that idea this past year, and it got shut down. Actually, I think parking made the call at the University of Minnesota. The university auditorium was like, yes, we can make it work, and it was going forward for approval, and parking said, absolutely not. That will not happen. Section host school entry proposal. Justin spoke to me last year about host schools being able to see all of the other schools' entries before a section meet. He talked about a possibility of having a meet director, which I didn't see where the finances of a section would necessarily support that. But what I countered and recommended is that by the date and time that the entries are due, the host school would send their entries to another school or possibly even all schools in the section.
Rory's always done that, sent him to me, so I know that he already has his done before he opens everyone else.
Okay.
Yeah, I do the same thing when I host.
Sections at the end of the season.
Right. So I'd like a proposal.
Well, could we, what if we had the class advisors act as the meet director? Because then they would have all the files anyways. They wouldn't have the result files, but at least they would have the entry files. Because we have the advisors that are the people, like Rory was a single A girls, right? That you advise for, which means that you compile all the results. It could be that that person would be the person that you get your entries trained.
We could have the meet host send them to them. I don't think you want to take them from all the schools.
Why?
Because
Individually?
it's not.
That'd be a lot, but
It's a lot of files and people don't follow directions very well. I think a lot of times you're lucky to get your entries. I know last year I had a guy that was 4 days late on his entries.
The concern is about the host school being able to
Being
change
able
their, modify their, right? So, I mean, I could see that the host team sends to the advisor,
That could be fine.
right?
Yeah, that would be fine.
And I was joking, I was giving Rory a hard time last year I did this, but I told Rory during boys, because he sends them to me during the boys season, I told him to send it to me as a PDF, because I can't open the zip file. So he sent it to me as a PDF so I could actually see his entries, and he thought I was being serious, but he actually did, but I mean, they send them, have them send in a file that someone can open.
Right,
I'm not,
we could-
I'm computer literate, I can't open the zip file for my thing, so I said I want a PDF so I can look at it.
The one thing, just from being a person that, you know, used to handle that stuff that those guys are doing, that's a lot to be putting on your plate that week. I mean, are you gonna wanna look at everybody's entries and then verify and go through the list and check off and say, okay, I got this person, oh wait, is this person coming to your team? Oh no, they're not. Am I gonna do this? Do you wanna take that on?
I think if it's just worried about the entries of the host school within that section, then it should be somebody that's there at the meet
Right.
to verify.
Because the challenge is gonna take place at the meet, and then it's gotta be settled at the meet.
Is this really an issue that people do that?
I don't really.
Post it, can you post your own entries on like a web page or send it out to everybody? I
I don't see it
know.
as much of an issue in a true team meet, because the factor of where a kid goes is one point. Where, and there's, in a section meet where you're playing where kids go to get the state for the top 2 spots, then it becomes a major deal, you know? So case in point, Marshall. Okay, is Marshall going 50 or is Marshall going 200? Well, that could be really important to a kid that's trying to be second place, because he knows he can't win an event to get to state. But in a true team meet, if Marshall goes to 50 or he goes to 200, it really don't matter to me. It's 1 point. And they're gonna get that point anyway, regardless of where he goes.
The reason it was brought up though is because of the issues that we had at our true team meet, where lots of coaches questioned why a group of swimmers was in one event and then got switched to another one after there was.
There was a coach that didn't look at his, when entries were sent to me, I sent the entries back and I said, please confirm that these are your entries. And the coach didn't look at it.
Right.
And then we got 2 days before the meeting, he says, oh, this kid's in the wrong event.
Right.
Which is not the event he typically swims. He normally would swim in the fly in the back, and all of a sudden coach wanted him in the 100.
Right.
He goes, well, he wanted to swim the 100. And then he got up at the meeting and said, are you fine with him being moved to the 100? There was actually an email sent, nobody said no. And then at the meeting, people said, well, why didn't you look at the site sheet? So I didn't. I assumed everything would be correct.
Why don't you double check your entries before you email them?
Do that too.
Just throwing that out. I mean, with high tech,
Yeah.
it's not like anybody on the receiving end is gonna transpose a number or put the kid in the wrong, right? I mean, we're just pushing buttons.
Push and
So
load is what it is.
This is on the coach to see their entry.
I mean, I honestly sent it out with our meet entry. Entries come in, I send out approved. And on there, the site sheets are gonna come out at this time. And after that time, there's no change.
Right, so the coach did look at it, tough, and so whatever is this,
And that's happened in our true team meet before, it's happened in our section, our conference meet where coaches, you know, well, can I add? No, you can't. Site sheets have gone out, you can't add, you can't change. They are what they are.
Personally, I'm the meet manager for this and for the state high school section. I hate to create another layer of doing something.
There's already plenty for.
I just say Stillwater entries will be given to a third person effective this date, you know, and then you can timestamp all that stuff. So it's timestamped on Thursday afternoon, 3 o'clock, these are the Stillwater entries. So when your entries all come rolling in Saturday, if somebody questions it, versus having to send them off over here, and then this person's got to do it over there. I think that covers it. For the one person's gonna ask, it's all covered internally there.
Right. And then it's on the site sheets when the times are done. I think the program kind of already takes care of it. To tell you the truth, because you see where the entries are. I think I'd like to see just the whole school send the entries to one other school in the section for verification. I think that's the simplest.
I think it should be a recommendation and not a requirement, because I think somebody's just gonna forget, and let's face it, we can look at the timestamp on the computer, when you send your file, it's stamped. When I do my own entries, when I host the meet, mine are usually the first ones in. And I don't even give it a thought, I pop everybody's teams in and send out the psych, I don't even,
Would you offer a motion, Jeff?
to recommend
Yes.
that you send it.
I wouldn't even go that far.
Yeah, I don't even know if you need
I
that.
would prefer not for this, I would prefer for this committee to not have that recommendation. I think this is an invitation we're talking about. What standard protocol for other invitationals?
Plus, it's an
Are we-
integrity issue, it's not a,
I think it's a teaching.
Yeah,
We just need to teach our
I don't
coaches
think this is.
this kind of
I don't
integrity.
see this as being a central issue. It sounds like a localized issue in one or two sections, and I think they should take care of it and figure out what works with them, with the coaches. I don't believe that this group should make an overlying umbrella statement or order, a standing order for all sections. I've never had a problem with this. Doing this for the last however many years we've been doing it, I've never had anybody question. And we've got high-powered teams that have traditionally been in our section, and nobody's ever come up to me or Jeff or Art, to my knowledge, and have ever questioned where we placed athletes.
Okay.
Don't we treat this like a championship meet though, even though it is truly an invitational?
We treat it as an
like it's
invitational.
like a championship of some sort. It's not, of course, season culminating, but we do have one team that wins and gets to move on. We have other teams that qualify for the wild card. And as far as integrity goes, you want to make sure that everyone trusts the system. The only reason I brought it up is because there were multiple schools that had questioned it after the fact, wanted me to do something about it, but if no one even commented on the fact that the email went out saying, this person made a mistake, he switched 2 flyers and 2 freestylers after the psych sheet was posted, and no one commented, and then it got brought up at our meeting that day, and then it was accepted. So.
And it was one kid that should have been in the 100.
It was 2.
No, it was 2.
2 flyers and 2 freestylers switched. And one of them was a standout athlete, and that's why the complaint came up. Because he was seated
Who would
first.
win either event, and it's the
Either
same
way,
number of
right.
points for the teams anyways.
Right.
That's what, so.
Yeah,
but I think
it's-
what Scott is saying though is why should we mandate something that you guys should handle on amongst your group, and then
You know,
make it
I-
a blanket protocol for everybody?
Going back to that time, there was an email sent out explaining what happened. Not a single person responded. It was discussed at the meeting, not a single person objected at the
Well,
meeting.
they don't have a leg to stand on.
And then, my concern is that they had 2 formal opportunities to express, no, I don't think this should happen, and I think, and I told the coach, I said, if any person says no, it's a no, those kids from those events. And nobody said anything, so we walked out of the meeting, and now I'm concerned that people want to they want to put this on your shoulders, Justin, and make it a backroom discussion, and now that comes up at our table here. I don't know if that's right. If they had their opportunity to express their opinion and to say, I don't think it's right, they should have said that.
Right.
Well, the only time it came up was half hour before the meeting started.
No, actually,
I
you know
mean,
what?
well, I'm saying like
Yeah.
where they had issues, like, because you're right, I know the emails went out and there wasn't a single response to the emails.
Right.
It was, the discussions that came to you were like 5 minutes before we went into the coaches meeting, and then it was, who's bringing this up at the coaches meeting, and
Right.
there was very little said, and then it's after the fact now.
And
The person-
we ran the program
Right.
already.
Right.
Right,
That's the thing, is nobody complained, so Rick made the changes, made the program,
Right.
and then now, after the program is run, we said, that you guys said, that this has happened before, we're gonna go with what's in the program. You guys, it's too late now.
right.
You had your.
And let's face it, if we wanted to cheat, I would hold my best 2 kids out. I wouldn't even put them in.
Yep.
And then someone would be sick, or two athletes would be sick, and I would insert them afterwards. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities if I wanted to cheat and play a game like that. We have, substitutions based on injuries. That we can do that. It's a standard operating protocol because this is an invitational. So there's nothing preventing me from doing that either. Back to my original point, I don't know if we need to have a standing order on host schools submitting an entry or whatever, unless that's coming from that particular section, and then they can come up with whatever they feel is necessary. That same way. I mean, Art gives me the entries. I put our entries in. Art, we don't see anybody else's entries. I could care less. It's not for me to dictate what other schools are doing. It's an invitation.
Just a thought, rather than making this a true team thing, I'm thinking for new coaches that come on board. I've never hosted an invitational, and I hadn't really even thought about this a whole lot, but it's always brought up. What if we just make a blanket statement for coaches who are ready to host an invitational? It's a good idea to send your entries to a third party prior to the entries being due. Make it more of a blanket statement. I can put it in our kind of working document that we have for everybody, rather than making it a true team thing.
Or even in our newsletter.
Sure.
Okay.
It is a good idea.
Right, I don't think it's it's one of those things. We have new coaches, they're hosting a meet. ADs who don't know swimming certainly don't have any idea about this, so.
And if there's other teams in section are concerned about, they're gonna ask.
How do they handle it in track?
There's a meet manager. I mean,
So it's a separate.
If you're doing a section, there's a meet manager. If you're doing a true team or you're doing an invite, it's just send your entries in, line up and go. In fact, they can send kids right.
So but there's hosts though, that
right.
hosts for two
and
teams, sections of track, right?
Yeah, but it's real easy. Heat one is your third kid, heat one is your second kid, heat one is your fast kid. You can decide that right as the event.
You don't have to pre-enter in track.
No, you can just walk right up and throw. You just walk right up and throw, and you can change on the fly right during the meet.
Yeah.
And theoretically, they tell you, put your best kid in the last heat, but if that kid's also high jumping and he needs to run in the first heat, running events take priority, so he has to run when he can run.
I don't know how it ever came up in our section of why we even sent them out to. I think it's just one of those things that to make other teams feel more comfortable that at least someone else has seen or has your results. So if entries for everybody is due by 3 o'clock on Friday, then the host team's got to send out to the third party by 3 o'clock Friday.
All right.
We just do that in our conference and sub-conference.
So it's just,
Let's move on. Section meet entry fees. Last year, we increased the section meet entry fee from $95 to $105. Is everybody comfortable with that, or should we increase it?
Why would we increase it?
Some sections would like to have a larger entry fee to increase profits and cover expenses.
and I think we chose 105 though as a little increase just so it wouldn't scare somebody off.
Right.
We've always tried to keep the section, since we're subsidizing the awards, we've tried to keep that really low to not discourage participation. That's typically been the.
We're still making $8,900 last year with the increase.
No, this is at the section.
This is at the section level. This
So
doesn't
this goes
affect
to the
us.
schools, not to us.
I think it's typical price for any invite. Am I incorrect? People usually charge about $100 for their invites. This is an invite, I would recommend leaving it the same.
Typical invites now, I think are 125.
130.
That seems to be the typical, but
When you hosted last year, did you make money or lose money or?
we didn't host it last year. Well, we did, but we've never lost money. We have enough teams coming in. The only,
The problem is when you don't have very many teams. Right.
Yeah, but those sections that don't have any, you could put it at $1,000. 500, you're probably not gonna break even. Because there's only 2 or 3 teams.
Right.
Or,
Ridley's gonna run into some trouble with having 2 teams there. If you run the meet right, you have 5, 6 teams there, you're at least gonna break even.
And those schools still have the right to ask us for support as well.
Yes, they do.
It's just how the school chooses to run it. If the school chooses to take in everything, put it in their general fund, the team has a chance to use money if they're paying the bill. If the school lets, you know.
All right.
I'll make a motion to stay with 105.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, section meet awards. The current price for the True Team Awards from Trophies Plus is $7,861.50. We average that out over 34 meets, including the state meets, comes down to $231.22 per meet. We are currently coming up on our third year of a 5-year contract with them. So we can count on that number being the same for the next 2 years beyond this as well. Last year, we reduced the amount invoiced to the section meet host from $190 to $170 for the awards. Any discussion?
I think that's great.
I think looking at our bottom line, we're good. And we're able to even cover the people that choked us at this point in time.
And we're covering the overage, basically. So
We're covering the overage out of the 89.
Yeah, that's good that this group does this because, you know, when you look at the section realignments, I know in our section, we're gonna lose money. I can tell you that right now, we'll lose money because we won't have enough athletes and
Your gate
parents.
can't cover you.
Well, we'll break even, but it's gonna be, you know,
I don't
barely.
understand.
It's not gonna be like it was in the
Barely,
past.
we might not lose it, but it's gonna be barely.
Well, you're not gonna make
No,
$4,000, but
No,
I don't think
but
you're
we're
gonna
not
lose
gonna-
any money.
yeah, but it's, you know, I think that's good that it's being covered because I can just see right now that
But
we
you
won't have.
don't pay for anything other than the officials and the awards. You're gonna go, right, Mike?
Right.
Me, I'm gonna go.
We just
You
won't
guys
bring
will
them-
be there.
we won't-
Hopkins will be
Right, we
be
just,
there.
no, my point is we just won't have enough revenue. The revenue will be decreased through attendance.
Well,
So we lost
I-
two big
I
students.
think it's
That
gonna be-
brought
well, yeah.
E's, F, and G relays.
I think we
You
do,
know.
we do this,
That's part of the deal.
this is great, we do this because of the teams that have, 2 teams in their section that'll show up.
F and G when you only have 4 entries.
We run exhibition meets.
Can you do that?
It's an invite.
It's an invite, you can do whatever you want.
Not anything. you want.
I
Well,
wouldn't,
not anything, but
I wouldn't.
As long as the section agrees with it, we do whatever we want.
yeah, do whatever you want.
They're dying.
Other schools
That's
redo it.
cool, you can do what you want. When you have a pool with your name on it, you can do whatever you want.
You can charge the school district to swim there?
You can charge the district, yeah, you actually get money in your own
Is
checkbook.
that part of the charter though? Is that okay to do?
I don't-
Do what?
Have
Seems
a
like-
FNG relay?
It's not specified in the chart. It has not been specified. What I can tell you that I know that.
I'm not making a complaint here
No.
that you're doing it, Art. I'm just saying if one section is doing it and other sections aren't doing it, then there's a disparity there. So we need to make
We
sure that-
stipulate what you have to do. Rules tell you what you have to do. They don't tell you what you can't do in many instances, this is Dennis Dale talking. He always did this. I remember he had Swanton, he wanted to anchor the free relay, but he wanted to win the breaststroke, so he put him in no time. In the championship meet, swam him in the first heat, went to standard, and then came back and anchored the relay 6 heats later. You know, and people were like, "You're supposed to enter them at the fastest time." He says, "No, it suggests you that I put this one in at the fastest time. It tells me what I have to do." And.
So the charter says nothing about.
It doesn't have anything about JV, but I can tell you that Northfield, in their section, one year had 3 schools come, only 3 schools. So they actually swam a varsity JV true team meet. And then they filled the stands for parents because they filled it with JV kids and they made money, where otherwise they were gonna lose money. And the meet was no longer than a normal true team meet that had 6 teams. And they filled the stands, they made money, and they were happy because all their JV kids got to swim too. And they said, are we okay with it? And I said, we don't have anything that says you can't do that. But you better have 100% agreement within your section. You have to have a timer that you're gonna do that.
We've had that, and the coaches appreciate that because to fill 4 relays, not everybody can swim individually events, so we run an extra heat of whatever we want, or whatever coaches agree to. I don't know if it's a disparity because it's exhibition, doesn't count as scoring.
Well, but if one section allows folks to swim more than what another section would allow, then that would be the disparity.
Are there other sections that just say that we're not doing that?
We've never done that.
I thought you
Which
couldn't.
means since they're moving into our section, then.
It's an invitational, so we just run exhibition.
We treated it as a championship meet, not run any exhibition, but that's the way the coaches want in our section.
Which, because they're moving into our section, those 2 teams are, that might become an issue.
Yeah, because they're used to that. They you know, Minnetonka will run, you know, they'll bring 2 or 3 extra relays because we've said, yeah, and the object of this is participation. I think it says that somewhere that we want participation.
Sounds like you're gonna have to have a discussion in your section.
Yeah, you might want that, but we're, you know, other teams are just used to that, and we're, just to have enough parents to be there to back up time and do this and that and run concessions and whatever, they want their kid to participate.
I know most schools like it because it puts more people in the stands, which puts more money in their coffers.
Well, that's part of it too. I mean, it just, we don't want to turn people away. We don't want to limit it to say, no, you can't. You're gonna have a kid that's gonna swim 2 relays and they're gonna be there for 2.5 hours and that's all they're gonna be able to do. Right? It's invitational and we want everybody to participate as much as possible without adding, 5 extra heats of things, but we've normally run, 4 heats, so 4 heats of stuff.
With the girls, we went with 5 heats last year. We went 6 entries per event per team. Because we knew they were gonna be, we had a little problem at the beginning because one team said they were coming and then they backed out. And I had a little issue with one, I was rotating, he got an extra entry. We had a little issue with that. But after one team backed out, we just went with 6 entries per team. That way you knew up front every kid was gonna be there. There wasn't a last second adding a deck entry. He designated JV or is it the top? No, you just put it at.
Just an exhibition. They're not eligible to score.
Our stands were filled with parents, and that's where your revenue is gonna come from. And when we went from the state meet, when we aired way back in about 2007 or 8, when we had a problem with entries for the state, we had to go from 10, we had 11. And so we just took 12 teams, and that's when the revenue went up for our state true team as well. So I'm not gonna make it a formal thing, but there's nothing wrong with I-meets.
There's nothing wrong with being profitable.
But what's the point of having, I'm thinking about my team not as big as Edina, Chris's team not as big as Edina, as we make the changes, Minnetonka and Eden Prairie going out with Carr Lake. Now you've got teams that are used to doing this before, and now they're going to get somewhere else and they haven't had it. And as the group of coaches in the association that are trying to make the meet the same for folks. Now, it's not affecting the scoring. I understand the benefit of the host team, but then you've got other schools, and I'll own it. I don't have a pool. I can't host a meet here at Cretin Derham Hall. Then where's the specialness of the meet for those where you've got a small team and there are only certain folks that can make it to the meet, and you wouldn't have enough to form a 4th, 5th, 8th relay. And now you've got some other teams that have been doing this for such a long time, but we're trying to make sure that the true team meet is something that we want to get people involved in. I'm all about having people participate, but don't we want to keep it the same all the way across for every state meet or every section meet, because then, well, we can do this in our section, we can do this in our section, and then every couple of years when they rearrange the sections, there's going to be a number of different conversations. I'm not saying that the conversations that have to happen are going to be bad. I'm just saying as the group of folks that are setting the regulations for what true team should be, don't we want to be consistent all the way across the board?
I think we're gonna run into issues. One is gonna be a situation like that, where you've got two teams used to doing that, come into a section again. The other issue will be, I don't know how many of the AA sections, but a lot of the single A's that I've talked to, they present the medals after the final meet. So now if you add, if we did it on the girls' side, and we let Nate bring unlimited entries, bring all of his kids for all these exhibitions. Now we go from a 4-hour meet, now we're looking at about, 5-hour meet or 6-hour meet. I mean, I think the discussion, it could happen here, or at least it has to happen within those sections, because it's going to be different. If I was in that Fridley section with 2 teams, hell yeah, bring everybody. It's not gonna matter. But if we already have sitting at 10 teams, I don't want everybody to bring 2 more swims in every event or 3 more relays. What we've always done is, if there's open lanes, once it's seated out, if there's open lanes, keep sheets go out. Here's the open lanes, first come, first serve. Email me if you want to go. Because now it's not adding to the need, but the kids like Nate will bring kids that are swimming 2 relays, now they have another spot to swim. But
I think
it's not
what's
adding into that.
I think what's happened is that each section has done what's right for them. And coaches have gone along because they know what's right for them in their section. And we've allowed sections to have the autonomy to work. This is the structure of the true team. Now do what you need to. The people company, Northfield was the first one that came and said, we only have 3 teams. We're not going to put many people in the stands. We all agree we want to run our JVs. I said, fine. If you all agree on it, go ahead. I think as long as you come to agreement, you're fine with it. If you don't come to agreement, then you say no.
I think it's good to allow, because there's such a difference between the different sections, it's good to allow that. The only problem is gonna be if their section does not want them to bring, and they've been used to it, who's writing? Who gets their way?
How does it determine between sections?
Right.
Because like this year that we hosted, like, do we get to make that decision? But now if
No, I
Minnetonka says
think
that they host
that's
it.
not an individual host decision, that's a section.
But you're treating it like an invitational, and people have been saying that over and over again, it's invitational, the whole school gets to set the standards. So if we, as a host of this first year, get to set the standards and really don't technically have to include everyone else in that discussion.
No, I've told all along that people, the precedent has been you have to have agreement among the coaches.
So then if you don't have the agreement, then who makes the decision? It's just an automatic no?
If you can't agree, then you just swim straight.
So you go 4 and 3 straight.
Well, you can have a vote.
But then does that become every year you have that vote?
I think
Or is it
might be
just
it
like-
might be an ongoing discussion, just as sections are ongoing change.
I think it has to be, because I know, like, section 1AA, last year we had almost every team participate. I don't think we could have had exhibitions, but this year, if we have less teams participating, you may not know that till the last minute, and all of a sudden you want to fill it up. I think that really should be an option. The final score isn't changed because you've got exhibition swims. It's giving kids the opportunities, which is more important than making money. I can argue that, but giving kids the opportunities to come and swim, being a benefactor of having big teams. Some kids may never get to swim a meet all season. If this is an opportunity for them to get a swim, I think we should give it to them. Does it matter that it's the same by section if everybody agrees within a section? We're not talking the state meet.
And it's really sad. What if you have 4 empty lanes every event? And you got kids sitting there chomping at the bit wanting to swim. That's a waste. Those kids rode the bus. The lanes are sitting there.
Art would send kids to Hutchinson to fill those lanes.
We could potentially bring in. If you go back to how do we get more teams to be participating, one of the things I think teams are looking at is, well, it's not the same from section to section. It's not consistent. So I think that's one thing to consider. If we're looking to try to find ways to get more folks involved, team-wise, not necessarily more swimmers that are already at the meet that are riding the bus with the empty lanes or whatnot, But if we want to get more teams involved, then that might be something worth looking at. Maybe not today, but maybe something for the future. As far as, maybe that would be something worth asking folks that don't show up. Why is it that you're not showing up?
Right.
And, if that's something that is brought up, then maybe that should be something that we should discuss maybe next year or whatnot down the line. If it's not something that's brought up, then it's not a big deal. But I think the discussion definitely has to happen at the section level, and I think that I worry about each host school, to the point that Katie and Justin brought up, as far as the host school treating it as an invite, then, because from year to year, it may change. And I think the discussion, or part of the discussion that happens this year, because no matter who you are, you're all in a different section, then at least it is an agreement that is made for the next 2 years, while the current sections stand the way that they do. And then after that, another, but I think that's something that might need to be added, because I think there are other sections out there. I mean, I think of the section that I just came from, we never either knew about that or had that, and we have had instances when not all 8 teams have showed up. So we could have had some empty lanes, but we chose not to do it. Or we didn't even know that we could do it. So I think that might be something, if it's something that we want to allow to have happen, fine. But I think we should be clear with our charter as to the fact that that is an okay thing to do, and we want to put some verbiage in there that talks about it's a 2-year commitment based on the section alignment that happens with the high school league, so that there is some consistency, and just so other folks know about it.
What we've done is, like, if we've got 30 kids in the varsity and 20 kids on the JV, we get all 30 varsity kids in the meet. We don't bring the 20 JV guys.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
So we just bring all the varsity guys, and if you got 30, that's too many if you don't have extra heat. So we try to get all those kids involved in the meet. They are scoring, of course, but as exhibition.
Everybody scores.
Huh?
One on your exhibition scores.
All right, we've gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves here.
Well, I just want to address that. If we're going to address something like exhibition swims, and we want all this to be the same, this is what I heard. Okay, I'm hearing that you want this the same. Is that correct?
We'll have the same option, because what you're
Okay.
doing,
have that option.
we didn't know that.
We always treat it as a championship meet.
Right, we've always treated it as a section meet, so section meet's 4 entries, that's it.
There are no exhibitions.
Regardless of the number of teams that show.
And when you get the meet information as the host, you get the meet information from Rick that says, here's what you should send out for everyone. I've just taken that and changed addresses and sent it out, and that's it. Whereas it sounds like what you're doing is taking that meet information that Rick is sending and saying, plus you can add exhibition, plus you can do this, plus you can do this. That's just the way that I treat it. I treated it like a championship meet every time.
So it's not a knock on what's happening. It's just, we didn't know that that could happen. And should that be something that we address in the charter?
Right.
So that other sections know they can do that, I guess is the point.
So you want to add?
Because that goes back to like section meets where up north, they were taking breaks after certain events.
Well, right. Well, and so back to your point, I think I'm hearing what you're saying. I mean, should we be addressing other things too, like the price of admission? Should that be standardized? How about awards? I'm hearing some meets are having awards after the final, after the last heat of finals, and then they have awards. We've never done that. We just print out the labels and we have parent volunteers and put them in bags.
Did you know you could hand them out after each event?
I didn't know if he could or not. I mean,
Exactly. That's the point he's making.
Right.
He did not know.
But maybe,
So
but maybe.
let's make some.
Yes, I see what you're saying though too.
But how much autonomy, I mean, I just.
We don't have to do the same, we just want to make sure everybody
The options
understands the
are-
options.
But they have options.
Well, that's what we know, but no one else does.
But no one else that's not listening to the webcast or is here or reads or knows or has had experience in those section meets knows that you could have exhibition or pass out the medals in that particular way.
Yeah.
Or or have admission. I think that's a really good point.
Or what about divers? I don't know if there's any diving coaches here, but I'm sure there's been more than one section that's had some exhibition dives because they haven't been able to meet certain requirements or whatever. So they have exhibition dives.
I That's a very valid point.
You know, so I don't know.
And to be quite honest with you, the state high school league has the same problem with their section meets.
Well, those are different run meets again.
Right, but they're trying to make everybody do the same, and they don't. Some don't do the awards after events, some do them before the events, right?
Before the.
Yeah.
They wait an event, and they all, there's many different incarnations of what we do, even at the section level.
But does it go back to like the meet information, like what is being
The
delivered
meet
out to the
information,
meet
and you
host?
know what, the state high school league doesn't even provide a standard meet information that goes out, what we get at different sections is different. We have more standardization in what we send out than what they send out.
So should that be something that we address as an advisory committee then?
He gets a packet, but our guy just writes his own stuff.
No.
Right.
No,
I'll
tell you why, because, some pool, they might not have enough time, for instance, to do the diving. Our section does not do a lot of sections now do diving on Friday night, the whole thing. And some sections will do the last 3 dives during the meet. Well, that could extend the meet there, and the time-wise, they're gonna not at the pool that long time.
But if you put in the meet information that goes out to every meet manager, that you have the option of doing either or.
Well, there you go, there's options again, so you're back to, I don't think the section, I think each section should have its own decision, autonomy on these matters. I think a statewide thing, there's too many instances that could happen for pools, for
2 people watching.
some team that gets there late, you know, there's too many situations that could arise. You gotta have every section decide.
All right,
I think Rick said what works for your section. I think
Allow me
that's
to,
what you
allow me to
do.
rein this in.
Then that's what needs to be put in there.
No,
You have the
please
autonomy
Correct.
to.
hold everybody, hold discussion.
Correct.
I would like to first get a first and a second on the cost of the awards. That's where this whole thing started.
What meeting I'll make a motion on the awards.
I'll second it.
And second is Jeff Nates. All right, all those in favor say aye. All right, now we have a discussion on exhibition that we've currently been engaged in.
Rick, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Discussion on awards. I wrote down in the minutes that we're in year 3 of a 5-year contract. What did we just approve then? Are
We
still-
approved the price of
170.
170,
The host schools. what
Oh,
they-
sorry.
yep,
Okay.
170, 190.
Rick, I
Gotcha.
make a motion to move that discussion that we're having down to new business.
All right.
Stay on the agenda.
All right, it goes down to new business. Thank you so much. And do I have we're gonna move it to new business. Because that's what it is. All right. Our current sponsorships are with Trapper Gym, Ellsmore Aquatic, who pays us 33% of the gross apparel sales, and the Swim Coaches Association and MSI. And MSI has helped us with the banner. All right.
Do you want to explain a little bit more about the sponsorships and what is required? Us or the section hosts, so the people that are watching or pick up on this later?
Our first sponsor was Trapper Gym, and he came to us and said, I'd be willing to donate X sum of money each year towards the state true team meet, and in return for advertising in the program. And I said, that's great. And because he was our charter sponsor, we honored him for naming a scholarship after him that's presented at our state banquet each year. Ellsmore Aquatic stepped up to us after we had problems with Northwest Designs and Fine Designs and gaining access into the aquatic center. They were already in the aquatic center. The other companies were paying us it's anywhere from a 20 to a 30% share, depending upon what I negotiated each year with them. But they had various problems, like 2 really big guys filling up the service elevator and spending most of the meet trapped in the elevator and not being able to sell t-shirts, to leaving the aquatic center a mess and not getting the staff out of there at night. Ellsmore already had access and is the preferred vendor at the aquatic center, and they came to us and said, we can do a better deal for you. So they presented 2 years ago here and came forward and offered us 33%. And we overwhelmingly accepted that, and they're on board as our principal sponsor. MSI came to us 2 years ago and asked for the ability to partner with us in the meet, and they offered us $1,000 and offered to help us pay for the making of a banner to promote swimming across the state, because they wanted to build better relations between club swimming and high school swimming. And we accepted them as well. Those are our sponsors. If there are any other sponsors out there who are interested in joining us, we would welcome them.
Are these contracts still ongoing, or do you have to renegotiate them?
I have to discuss these ongoing with each one, and all three are interviewing for next year.
Is Trevor, is he going all sections or just the state for the advertisement?
The advertisement, I send it out to all the sections across the state.
Is the MSI sponsorship $1,000 is that every year?
They pay that each year. And that's just a point of information. Chris, would you please talk about scholarships?
The scholarships that we give out, after some feedback, we're just gonna put that at the beginning of the girls' season. I'll put the form up there, and we'll leave it open with a deadline of, I think it was April 3rd this year. There'll be a similar deadline, but the app will be up all year round, and so that the kids can go and pull that off of there or send me the information throughout the year. I know in the past that we kind of had a 2-week or 3-week window, and there's a lot of people that were stressed out about that as far as not being enough time on the website. But the overall, I guess, acceptance of the scholarship program has been great. We've had a lot of grateful kids that have received a scholarship. Last year, I thought it was primarily girls that were applying for it because that had been our majority numbers, but this year now it was boys. So it kind of fluctuates. You know, we get anywhere from, I think the highest we had was last year, there was 35 kids who sent in total with A and AA that had sent in applications. I think this year we're at 28. So it's gaining momentum as we have been doing it. I think this is the third or fourth year, maybe, that we've been doing it.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the time and effort and work on that matter.
Who are the scholarships that named after? Art's got one, Trevor's got one, who else the other one?
That's it.
There's two.
There's
four scholarships.
4 total. Each gender per class.
You want to talk to Ellsmore to see if they would want to put theirs on, to see if they would want to get involved in that scholarship program at all?
Ellsmore, I have talked to them, and their level of commitment to us is the 33%. Talking to them about the scholarship wouldn't increase what they do at this point. That they're all in at 30%. If our body would so move to do that, we could do that. I don't know if I want to have a company on that. I think there's 2 out there, and I'd rather honor the contributors.
Isn't Ellsmore also paying for our awards at the banquet? Or did that change?
Ellsmore,
they used to. I don't know
when Janet ran the company, I know Janet paid that award bill. I don't think they've done that at this point, from this point forward.
Rick?
Yes.
The scholarships are at $1,000 each, which is great, but college costs keep going up. I'd like to have us think of a way to maybe increase them by $100 a year or whatever periodically. If we have that profit that's at the top of the page, take $400 out of that wouldn't be a lot.
I would, based on what our budget committee did 2 years ago, I would say right now we're pretty stable, and that I would want to hear from our budget committee, from the executive committee before we made any of those changes at this time.
Yeah, the True Team overall finances, and I'm not speaking for Kate, True Team is actually carrying the Coaches Association, which over the last couple of years has lost about $2,000 a year. So I definitely would want to have that discussion further before we make that motion.
And that's just because we've been keeping prices down on the tickets for the banquet.
Correct.
We've been subsidizing the banquet.
Mhm.
And I know the kids I've talked to who have received the scholarship. You think $1,000 is a lot, it means a lot to those kids, because you're looking at, like, it'd be books or something, and that's a huge amount. So increase it right now, it's not necessary.
And that's pretty typical when you go to the senior nights where they get scholarships. That's a pretty
It's
typical
about
number.
pretty steal time from it.
All right. Now we're down to new business, and we're back to talking, we're talking about exhibition, and we have widely varying opinions on what's going on.
What if we just put it in the standard meeting information that you send out to all the hosts, that your section has the ability to allow exhibitions, to charge your own admission fee or whatever, some general language in there so you.
I don't want to start discussing entry fees, and we could end up.
No, not entry fees, but I mean, if you
I
just
think
say,
there needs to be a statement that by mutual agreement.
if it is agreed upon by
exhibition
all the teams in your section, or all of the schools in your section,
participating schools.
participating schools, you may run exhibition swims.
And you were talking,
And, well,
you were talking.
Or fill empty lanes.
Or I would just say exhibition entries. That would cover swimming, diving.
Yeah.
Exhibition entries allowed as
Exhibition entries
per
are allowed
agreement, as per coach agreement.
as per agreement of participating schools.
The coach agreement, and I'm gonna be the stickler here, is that a majority, or is that gonna, the person says no and that runs it? That's the stickler here.
So coach agreement or the host school.
Well,
Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying if the majority of the coaches, what if one person says no,
Majority
and
or.
7 say yes?
So
or
one person,
nothing.
so one
Or
person
Yeah,
has
are we
veto
gonna go-
power?
Yes. That's the.
No, they,
I don't agree with that.
they.
No,
have
but I
the-
want to have that clear.
But they have the veto power to just not show up.
Right.
Which
That's
is my
true.
fear, is that some schools feel like, I think some schools feel like when you go to a meet like that and your E relay is getting beat by someone else's D or E relay, is it really worthwhile for, or are you there for 6 hours? Right.
Meet manager has the capability to seed all of them first.
That's true.
So we put, so E, F, G, or H or whatever, they're competing in the first or maybe part of the second heat. They're not being seeded completely by time so that you're getting an F relay in the last heat and just killing the field, because we don't want that to happen either. So we tell it to seed so that they're being seeded in the first heat and part of the second heat.
Have you listened to discussions from your athletes about that though? Because as my athletes who are in the C or D relay are looking at the first relays to go and say, oh my gosh, there's no way that our relay could go a 200, and look at this first heat, there's a bunch of them that are going that fast, what's gonna happen with the rest of the relays? I'm just throwing it out there,
Right.
I'm not saying, I've had that discussion from my athletes, they've said that to me about these types of invitationals as well.
Our athletes are the ones that are usually getting killed, to be
Right.
honest, and I don't think I've never heard them say anything.
They just
about
love
that.
to
They just want to be in the meet. They don't care. And again, I think that's just part of I don't know how you.
Culture.
I'm not saying it's a positive or negative. I think it's just, we just treat the meet as an invitational. Just as an invitational, there's points being scored, there's a bazillion points to be had. At the end of the day, there's a winner, and they get to move on, and then there's other teams that will be considered, and we'll figure that out within the next 24 hours. And
Is this gonna promote participation from schools that we're trying to get in, or is it going to detract from schools that we're trying to get in? Because there are schools that don't participate for one reason or another. We need to figure out what that reason is and try to resolve that so that we get more participation in the meet.
I think you're gonna get a mixed bag, because I mean, I would be all for going to a meet where I can enter more of my athletes in.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, some people are gonna say no to that, and I don't know that there is one reason as to why teams aren't participating. I know in southern Minnesota, we've had the discussion amongst coaches, and our biggest complaint is that we swim the same teams all year long. So if I'm swimming Mayo and JM 5 times a year, I go to True Team, now I'm swimming them 6 times a year. And I want to find something that I can compete against other schools. And I think northern schools have the same issue. And so I don't think there is one reason why people don't come. I think that's all over the board, and I don't know that we're going to appease everybody.
That's another thing with the northern schools, that's always been their Meyer Range Conference meet as well. Are they still good?
I mean, there's nothing from stopping the meet hosts to have little gimmicks to get people, you know, I could find a sponsor that would print out a bunch of t-shirts, and we'll just give them the heat winners. Heat winner, you get a t-shirt.
Right.
What's to stop anybody from doing that? There's nothing in our charter that says we can't do that. But that would be a ton of fun.
We used to go to the Up North invite, and they gave out wonderful prizes for the event winners, and they couldn't do that anymore for some rule.
For somebody told.
Yeah.
See, we've done that for years.
Yeah, but
I
I think our point, I think, Justin, back to your point, I think it's going to be a zero sum. I don't think one thing is going to make more people come or prevent people from coming. I think the coaches that are there have made a decision that this meet, for whatever reason, doesn't either fit in their schedule or their training, or it's their kid's birthday and they just don't want to go on a Saturday. Let's face it, coaches are gonna make a decision for a lot of different reasons of why they don't want to come to that meet.
I will tell you that I think the number one determining factor from year to year participation is date choice.
Is what? Date choice?
Date choice.
So can I speak? Because I haven't gone to True Team. Don't throw anything at me, but well, I did. I've gone, I think, twice in the last 5 years, and really the reason that we didn't go for the boys was I had, I think, maybe 35 kids on the team, and 7 of them were actually in high school, and the rest of them were, 13, 14, 15. And so, when you swim in a section where you have multiple teams that are top 10 at state year to year, we went and my kids would get, 24, 25, 26, and it was like that pretty much every event. And so that's why we didn't go. It wasn't really the date choice or this or that. And then, next year going into it, I had to decide, well, we're going out to swim at our section against Eden Prairie and Minnetonka. And so I'm looking at the value of that. Like, what are my kids going to get out of that meet that's going to be valuable for them if we're swimming? And not that some of my kids won't do very well against Eden Prairie and Minnetonka and those kids from Prior Lake, but what is the value of that meet?
And then does that decrease, like, would you feel if we added exhibition on top of that?
To me,
would that turn you away even more, or you just automatically turn off?
Some teams are larger and some teams are smaller, so do I want to go to a Saturday meet and see, team with 60 kids swim heat after heat? And I don't know, I don't know how many heats it would add, but, a heat of only this team and a heat of only that team because they can fill those spots, opposed to other teams that are maybe smaller and can't fill those spots, and now they have to sit there and watch the other teams swim those events.
And to go back to True Team, as far as why we created True Team, my recollection of it was to try to get more people to participate, to try to get every single kid to score, to try to make it different from what we had at sections at the end of the season and state at the end of the season, where you could have 4 or 5 very fast swimmers and a really good diver, and you could win the state meet. Now it's the entire team that's out there, but it was limited based on the number of entries you had. And I think this was something that was created to allow for the disparity that we already have with some teams that are huge and some teams that are small, to say, look, you've got this many entries that you can bring and bring this many kids to the meet. Now, yes, that means that other kids won't be able to participate, but then that is what I remember the initial meaning of what True Team was all about. You had 4 entrants in those events, that's it. And if you didn't have a full meet or whatnot, fine. My concern is if we've got empty lanes and we've got folks that want to fill okay, but then we also can then see this particular team didn't bring, because if you've got 8 in a section, now I know I'm a single A boys coach, that doesn't necessarily apply in all of the other sections for single A boys and double A and single A girls, but if there are 8 in the section and you've got an empty lane, that's most likely because some kid got sick and they don't have a replacement or a team didn't show up. This is something that was going to level the playing field among all teams in one particular way, and if we allow the exhibition to happen, fine. But then I think we should make that aware, and I think what Chris said is if we put something in there that's at the discretion of the section, and it would be a majority of the participating schools at that section. But I think it's important to incorporate that every 2 years, we have this discussion happen, because that's how the sections go with the Minnesota State High School.
I think it should happen every year. Because you may have said one year it was great, and then go to the meet and go, man, that didn't work. I really wanted my JV kids, and they weren't there, and I think that would have been great. Or you might say, you know, I didn't really like having those JV kids. I don't think there's anything wrong and with putting in here that we put it in the meet information, like you said, and you have a section discussion about it. Are you going to allow exhibition or not?
Well, and getting back to what you said about the original concept of the team meet was the state meet, you have 4 entries. But if you go to the section meet, you have 6 entries in your meets. Now you go to the state meet, now you have 4. There's a discrepancy in how teams are ranked. Because when I go to the section meet, I get 4 entries.
Yeah.
If I can afford them, I go to the state meet, I get my entries. So now we're making a discrepancy of member meets at the section level and on the state level.
There are always going to be those things. I mean, for example, even the state high school league has some problems. We run diving on Thursday. The section I was in last year, we were swam prelims on Wednesday, we ran diving on Thursday, and then we swam finals on Friday. And I would say, our divers don't know what to do when there's 3,000 people in the stands. We have diving at finals, and well, we'll vote on it, and we voted on it, and we had diving on Thursday night. And it never fails. Some kids liked having the crowd, and they responded, and other kids didn't see the crowd, and they freaked. I went to the league and said, how can we do this differently in different sections? Well, they just do, right? They just do. And it's like, okay.
I put it in the
They do it differently.
This is a dumb question, but how do you have this discussion amongst your section? Do you do this all through email? And then what do you do if people don't respond to email, which we run into that issue where you send an
You're
email
gonna
out
have
and
to
people
do
don't
it, you're gonna
respond?
have to do an email. Because you're not,
And
unless
do
you
you
can
take no
call your
responses
section.
as what, that they don't have an opinion?
Well, you have to, you're the first to find out if they're coming to the meeting. Yeah, you're gonna have to know who's coming to the meeting, who's not. But you'll know that because your AD will have already sent all contracts. You'll know who have sent it back the contracts.
And in your email, you can put in there that no response. Because I don't think, whichever way you want to take it, positive or negative.
And what if the same coach is the coach of 2 schools?
You get 1 vote.
Is the coach get a vote, or does each
Like,
school get a vote? They have separate teams.
I'm the coach of 2 teams. I have Jasper and Litchfield. I get 1 vote.
Do you separate at sections?
No.
Well, then you are one team.
Well, you're one team, but
You're one
he's,
team.
as an
But
example,
so like-
he's got 2 teams.
Like
But
say
it-
South.
He get,
1 vote.
But it,
does he get 1
No,
vote?
one vote. But you have 2 teams.
Because if I.
He has
because-
2 teams, he coaches 2 teams.
Let's go to my conference. I've got Watertown, Merritt, Delaware, Laconia. I got 1 coach that coaches 4 teams, so I team 4 votes.
Well, but they're not one team. They're not one team though.
They score as
separate.
one team. though. They
No,
score
they
as
don't.
one
They
team.
we made
Yes,
that rule last
he
year.
scores as one
as far as
team,
the
Because it's
voting,
one
but
team.
you don't. Yeah.
as far as the voting goes, we had the discussion this winter, because it was brought up. When you have those parent chairs when they're voting for the award, does that coach now get a vote for each team that they're coaching, or do they get one, or do they vote for the coach? And we decided it was a vote for the coach. Because otherwise, there's some of those that are 3 Watertown. They'd have 4 votes, they could dictate athlete of the year, coach of the year.
Do they score, each one scores separately?
At the section meet, yeah.
They do, they're forced to.
All right,
separate.
well, to get off the voting thing, now how do you limit your exhibitions? Do you say that you're limiting them to 4? I mean, let's say your section agrees
all right, we're for exhibitions. Is it a free-for-all? Everybody bring everybody in town? Or do you just say that we will have exhibitions up to 4 or 2 extra per event? What do you do?
I think they have to agree on their exhibition policy.
It's gonna be, when I host in a 6-lane pool. Other teams will host in an 8-lane pool. I mean, it's not something that can be consistent.
Right.
If, you know,
If you only have
fill the
4 teams that
lanes,
come.
don't fill the lanes.
All right,
Run
I
a
think
championship meet.
we've heard many arguments, many opinions. Do we have a motion to make a change? Or is the item gonna be tabled?
I don't see how you can make policy out of this.
I agree. Now I know how the founding fathers felt. It's kind of states' rights versus federal rights here. I don't want to make a blanket statement that affects
But you already have those.
8, 16, 24, 30 meets. We're talking about 30 meets that are going to occur. I don't think we can do that.
But you guys have already set a precedent. Now they're coming in, you have 2 teams from your section, and now going to this section, and they're gonna be coming to this section expecting to do the exhibition. You've already set the precedence, so a statement has to be made.
I agree that we have to say something. Yeah, I mean, because for people, we've now been made aware that people don't know that other sections have done it. So I think that other sections need to know that sections have done that, and that's an option for them. But I think they need to know, they need to agree on it.
All right, I'll make a motion.
I don't think this is the same. I'm not willing to put this in the same category as cut times. I truly don't believe that this is the same. I don't think True Team is in the same arena as Minnesota State High School League section championships and state championships. I'm not willing to say that this is the same issue of
We
equality.
provided in the informational email that some sections have allowed.
But when, like, so for us, if Edina comes and they want, or even further, they want exhibition heats, and if for some reason we say no, or because you guys are hosting, right? And then Prior Lake says no, and they put up a tizzy fit, because that's what's been done. Tough good person.
But you don't have an agreement
And
amongst
is
all
the
section
agreement,
coaches.
like, is it majority, or is it one person that says, no, I don't want to do it, and then it's done? That's, I think, what we need to decide is.
Is it the host school rules?
No.
No.
That's already not.
Well, yeah. I think they should be allowed to make that decision on their own. I mean, what if there's a tie vote? Now what?
Post school breaks
who breaks
down.
that?
Post school breaks
But I don't
down.
even want to make a policy of that, Rick. I don't
want to make it a policy. How about if we do this? How about if I craft something for the meet information, not in the meet information, but the informational email for the host school, that it was made apparent at the True Team meeting that some sections are allowing exhibition swims. In some cases, they dictated how many you can put in other cases, they've just filled open lanes. Please proceed to do this by mutual agreement in your section by a majority vote of the participating schools.
Can we use the word entries instead of swims?
Entrance, yes.
Because that includes diving.
Yeah, we had exhibition diving.
We have exhibition diving.
All right.
So it's
Could I
just
get a
exhibition
motion?
entries.
Could I get a motion that I can craft this?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Now, for the discussion, I would like to see that exhibition entries, you can say something about what's been done in the past. Exhibition entries are allowed at the discretion of each section or each meet based on mutual agreement. And just leave that open-ended. How they decide mutual agreement is how they decide mutual agreement. I don't want to get into the issue of one team equals one coach equals one vote or whatever. They can decide how they want to do that. They can decide how many exhibition entries they want. If they want to add 2 extra heats, fine. I don't think we should dictate that. That's fine if they want to do that. If they just want to just fill the lanes and not add extra heats, then they can do that too. If they want to accept deck entries, first come, first serve, that's fine. Yeah, they can charge $10 for each entry. I don't care. If they want to say each team is allowed up to 2 additional entries for exhibition, if they want to say that, then they can say that.
All right.
If a team is that adamantly opposed to it and they refuse to come, well, then they do.
Each section may decide to allow exhibition entries by agreement.
Perfect. I think let's just leave it a blanket statement there.
Okay, that's your motion?
That's my motion, is for that statement, mutual agreement. And that can be determined how they decide that.
I got a first.
I will second it. Since I was down in Northfield when this probably all started way back then.
That's right. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
I got just one comment on, Katie asked how you're gonna do this. I know people don't telephone much anymore, they're all text and stuff, but actually, I call up every year, everybody, ask them if they're gonna come, find out why they aren't gonna come, try to talk them into it. I mean, just to talk to somebody, just talk to them, find out what they feel. I think that's, you get a lot further that way.
So what have been some of the reasons why you've heard they haven't wanted to come?
Well, St. Louis Park doesn't come because of, they have a fair amount of Jewish population, and Saturday is a day of worship, so they usually don't come. And,
But they'll come to the state meeting.
yeah, but that's just, I suppose they make that.
But that's not a choice. You don't have a choice. And see, that's again, another difference between True Team
Word of God, you
and
still have a choice.
state.
You do have a choice.
But as a team, you don't have to, as a team, you don't, right? I mean, I don't know.
I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying.
I get what you're saying too, right? I mean, they can make a religious stance and say, we aren't competing, but then they don't have another option, right?
Well, we did that in the old lake conferences. We followed the Jewish calendar as well as every other faith's calendar.
Then the Chaska, their Chan Chaska, Chan was AA, Chaska was A. So Megan Braun just didn't like the fact that she had split up her team and she'd have 10 kids at one meet and 10 kids at another instead of 20 at a single meet. But now that they're both AA now. So you get both of them as well. So if you talk to Megan, you might be able to talk her into coming because they can all come to the same site. She didn't have to have one coach over here and one coach over there. That always bugged her. And so of course she just got married, so she might not want to come anyway. But
All right. Thank you, Art. I appreciate your comments. I think that duly noted, people can make personal contacts.
yeah,
Before we prepare to depart, I would like to thank Mike for hosting again this year. And I would like to ask if you would consider hosting again next year. There's a nice central location that's not too far for anybody to come, unless you're from way outstate. And we have the webcam for those people. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Round of applause for Mike for putting this together. I'd also like to thank everybody who came to the meeting today. It means a great deal. This True Team has been successful because of the committee of people and the many hands and the lifting that they do to make this happen. And Chris Arseth is very instrumental because he is our state meet manager and he works with the University of Minnesota. And I know that he does a little bit of that for the league, but he has the league standing behind him when he does this. He just has us behind us when we do this, and that's very nice. I'd also like to acknowledge Rick Kruger. Rick Kruger has worked as an assistant in my program. He was a 4-term legislator, and he was in the legislature, and he was one of the individuals that made sure that when the money was dedicated to build a pool, that it went to the University of Minnesota, and he was part of the men that made sure that we amateurs and high schools athletes were gonna have access to the University of Minnesota. I do want to let you know that we did run into a brick wall here a year ago where we were having a hard time getting into the University of Minnesota. And the bottom line is they just wanted to have fewer events and less community access and really weren't interested in having us be in the aquatic center. And I went to Rick and I said, are you aware of that this is happening? And he says, that can't happen. That's not part of the agreement. And he went back to me and said, find out where the stop is, where the trouble is, and at the University of Minnesota, and I'll see what I can do. He actually was invited to a dinner with the Board of Regents at the President's house, and he casually mentioned in a conversation that the high school true team was having difficulty gaining access to the University of Minnesota Aquatic Center. And needless to say, the next day I got a phone call from Linda saying, we would love to have you meet. What day would you like to meet? So we had a little back channel negotiations going on helping us gain access to the U. And I want to acknowledge what he did for the true team, how important it was to make sure that we were going to continue to have access to the Aquatic Center. Any other new business? Seeing no new business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
No diving discussion?
Which is a first.
We've already adjourned.
Rick 6AA, host for girls is 99. Minneapolis Southwest, which I think it's on some other document, but, so I didn't even know, look at it.
Okay.
Chris is our hosting, Addie 9